Um, awesome. So
welcome to the
do you,
Holistic Kids Show. My name is Zane.
My name is Dula.
And my name is Imad.
We're the Holistic Kids here to educate us kids from the inside out. November is Early Childhood Mental Health Month, Awareness Month, and with mental issues on kids' rise, we are the Holistic Kids need to bring on experts to help us kids deal with this huge problem.
I see this is so much in my class. Kids are dealing with anxiety, depression, ADHD. It seems like kids can't calm down and are sad.
Well, you are right. This should be a national emergency. And that's why today we have with us Dr. Uma Naidoo. Dr. Uma Naidoo is the world's triple threat in the food and medicine space. A Harvard-trained psychiatrist, a professional chef, graduated with her culinary school's most coveted award, and a trained nutrition specialist. Dr. Naidoo founded and directs the first hospital-based nutritional psychiatry service in the U.S. state. She is the director of nutritional and lifestyle psychiatry at Massachusetts General Hospital, MGH, and director of nutritional psychiatry at the MGH Academy while serving on the faculty at Harvard Medical School. She was considered Harvard's most mood food expert, and has been featured in the Wall Street Journal. Dr. Naidoo is also the national best-selling author of This Is Your Brain on Food. And now she has a new book called Calm Your Mind with Food. Right now we have the first one with us. But we're getting the second one.
great.
So thank you so much, Dr. Naidoo, for joining us today. We know how so busy with the book launch, so we are incredibly honored for you to join us today.
So honored.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I want to congratulate you all. I hear that you got a book deal. I think I'm going to call you all for advice. You can help me.
So how did a Harvard medical doctor become passionate with food as medicine? We would love to know your story.
I grew up in a South Asian family that loved food, good nutrition, but also had a lot of scientists, doctors, and Ayurvedic practitioners. And so I spent a lot of time when my mom was in medical school. She's a double boarded physician herself who's now retired. But when she was in medical school, I would spend time with my grandmother during the day. So I was exposed to healthy eating, picking fresh vegetables from the garden, watching her prepare food. And I'd sit with my grandparents and eat lunch. So that part of my life really I was very fortunate to have. But in order to entertain me, because I had refused to go to preschool, and I somehow got away with it. My grandparents would teach me yoga and meditation and just have conversations with me. So when I went to medical school and we covered no nutrition, and then I was in residency, and I was being asked to prescribe medications that were very strong and very powerful, psychotropic medications that had very severe side effects. But except for checking off a box of what the person's weight was as entering their data online, no one was checking what their lifestyle was, what they were eating, were they exercising? And I really thought that was a gap. So I started to explore that more. I had if you've read This Is Your Brain on Food, I describe an interaction with a patient who I interpreted information to. And that was a very big kind of a light bulb moment for me. And I decided that I was going to learn nutrition, and I studied that. And culinary school happened because I'm a huge fan of Julia Child. And I felt that when I read and heard that she went to culinary school later in her life, I thought, well, I'm a doctor, I'm studying this, why not me? And I was very fortunate that these three areas of my life, and now this quadruple area of my life, being an author and writing books, really came together to permit me to do what I do. And I feel very fortunate. Thanks for asking.
Your story is so amazing.
So amazing.
I mean, especially living in a desi household, where you have like everything is basically rice or roti or naan or just bread. Rice and bread is basically the entire everything that you eat. So it's so amazing.
There are a lot of vegetables. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, the cuisine does allow for a lot of vegetables and different types of healthy proteins. But you're right. You know, there's a sustenance that comes from those, while delicious, also not the greatest for metabolic health, right?
Yeah.
So how do we find that balance?
I mean, a lot more kids and teens and young adults are experiencing anxiety, but fewer are getting the appropriate treatment as it's seen. Anxiety is kind of seen as something that'll eventually go away, as if children and teenagers receive any help for any anxiety disorders. It usually is medication and not counseling. I'm pretty sure according to a study that was published in the Pediatrics. So why is medication the first line of treatment and not lifestyle change when anxiety is mostly happening due to food and lifestyle?
You know, I think that the causes of anxiety are heterogeneous. So I don't think we know exactly, but of course we have research, and I think all of us here know that lifestyle has such a huge impact on anxiety. I'm a huge believer, and I agree with you that if we fix some of the problems around our food and how we're eating and nutrition and lifestyle, a lot of that anxiety could go away. Um, some research published in The Lancet showed that anxiety has increased by 25% since the pandemic. A study published in JAMA down at Harvard actually looked at pediatric care, and what it showed was that they looked at utilization of acute mental health care during the second year of the pandemic in youth aged 5 to 17 years old. And they found in this cross-sectional study that there was a massive increase in emergency room visits. So I just want to reiterate the data that you're
Mhm.
sharing. Mental health emergency department visits increased by 7%, and the percentage of emergency department visits resulted in inpatient psychiatric admission increased by 8%. And there was more in the study, but I'll leave it at that. All to say that more kids are suffering, and I think we need more solutions. In order to have those more solutions, we need to take the education component to our own hands, do what the three of you and your mom are doing, really helping to educate your peers on the other solutions. Because the way that medicine is practiced in the United States is defensive. You go in to see a doctor because you have a symptom of anxiety. You're not really speaking to your doctor about preventive medicine or lifestyle medicine. There are organizations like IFM, like the ACLM, lifestyle medicine organizations that are coming forward. And I'm certainly doing my best to bring nutritional and metabolic psychiatry forward. But when you're going to see a doctor, based on how insurance it works and based on the fact that we tend to practice defensive medicine, you're given a prescription. And these days, of course, it's sent electronically to your pharmacy. So unfortunately, I think the only way to change that conversation is to increase the education amongst teens, peers, parents, and the population around nutrition and what other solutions can we have.
I think one big problem is that most people don't think that what you eat actually affects your brain. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people think, well, my
Right.
brain's up here and my stomach's over here. Like, how is that supposed to work?
I have a good one for you. What happens if who's had a headache recently or in the past month?
I used to have some headaches.
Okay, all right. When you had the headaches, did you take anything or do anything?
Well, we usually have magnesium, or
Okay,
we do gratitude, because we learned obviously out of
you
all these
you you
episodes
use
how yes.
non-medication measures. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. But a lot of people in the United States who have a headache, I ask them, well, where's the pain? And they'll look at me and roll their eyes and be like, of course it's in my head. I have a
Yeah.
headache. And then I'll say to them, so what do you do? Most people will say, well, I'll reach for a pain medication to help relieve that headache. And then I ask them, they really think I'm asking silly questions. What do you do when you find a pill? Well, I take it, I get a glass of water, and I swallow the pill. And then what happens? Well, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe the headache goes away. So I said, well, if you're swallowing a pill, but it's acting in your head, how do you explain that? How do you explain that happening? What's going on? And it starts to fill in the picture of the gut brain connection. It starts to fill in the picture around the fact that you swallow a pill, but it relieves the headache in your brain or your neural tissue. It also starts to break down the fact for them that there is this connection, and when we eat food and it's digested and it interacts with the trillions of microbes down in the gut microbiome, and we use the term gut microbiome and we refer to the genetic material as well. When that happens, the breakdown products also have an impact on the brain. It's just, a longer process, and we are understanding it more through research. So that starts to fill in the picture for people, because mental health is not an above the neck concept, right? It's a whole body
Mhm.
concept, as you all believe. And that is why it's so important for people to know that there are more things we can do, like meditation, gratitude practice, outdoor time. 10 minutes of outdoor time gives you 80% of your vitamin D. After that, you need to put on your sunblock or your sunscreen, but those things are really important.
Yeah, and I think nature is also a big thing that people are missing nowadays, and I think that might be contributing to a lot of the health problems nowadays as well.
So for
You are correct.
So for every one message that the brain sends to the gut, there are 9 messages that the gut sends up to the brain. Then brain neurotransmitters are made in the gut. So food is really important.
It is critically important. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve, and it connects the brain to the gut, to the gut to the brain. And I like to call it a two-way text messaging system. Some people love to text all the time, and these two organs are the same, but they are communicating about neurotransmitters, and that's important for us to understand. We also need to understand that 90 to 95% of serotonin receptors, and serotonin is made in the gut as well as elsewhere. So when people start to understand all of that, and another thing in my new book, Calm Your Mind with Food, I sort of link immunity to all of this and explain that to people, because that's not something most people understand. And the only thing I'll say about that is 70% of our immune system is in the gut too. So it's a really huge and important area for us to understand.
With the holidays coming up, more kids are eating sugar. We know that is terrible for your health, for your brain health. What are other foods that are bad for your brain?
Yeah, sugar is certainly one of them, and we're talking about added refined sugars. We're not talking about a small serving of berries or clementine. So it's the added and refined sugars. Other foods that are bad are the kind of processed, ultra processed foods, the
Yeah.
junk foods and fast foods. A lot of savory foods have a lot of added sugar that we don't realize. Salad dressings, tomato sauce and ketchup, or pasta sauces that are store bought. So we want to be really wary and learn to read the food label so we know if there's added sugar. So that's a big one. Then it's the fried foods and fast foods, because those foods are used and fried in inexpensive oils that are pro-inflammatory to the gut and the brain. So they raise inflammation in our body. Another one is artificial sweeteners. So diet sodas, diet stuff that says sugar free is not always the best, because the artificial sweeteners can be disruptive. There are a few newer ones now that we're still doing research on, but for the most part, the ones in diet sodas and sugar free snacks and foods often are not the healthiest. It's the trans fats and the hydrogenated oils and certain, say, the kind of cakes that you or store-bought pastries that you see that are shelf stable, so they're not fresh from the bakery or freshly made at home. Those have the wrong types of fats in them, but those are a few to kind of get started with, to understand that are problematic for our gut and our brain.
Yeah, I mean, we know that our brains are made of fat, right? So it's also
Yeah.
probably important to focus on those kind of foods, fat. So, I mean, a lot of the audience may be wondering, there's a lot of different foods, like all these vegetables and stuff, but where do I
Mhm.
start?
Well, let me ask you each a question back. So if you can answer this, is there something you're eating or drinking right now that you're concerned about? Because like none of us, including me, is a perfect eater, right?
Mhm.
Is there anything that maybe a habit, something you're doing, something you started eating at school or buying that you feel is not the best for you?
Uh,
I mean, we have organic chips and everything, but we still like to sometimes snack on those a little bit.
mhm.
But otherwise,
Right. So
The drinks.
I mean, we still eat a lot of even though we don't eat probably as much vegetables, we eat a lot more fruit than the
mhm,
vegetables.
mhm.
Um,
Okay, so
Otherwise,
a little bit low on the vegetables and a little bit high on the fruit. So okay, got
yeah,
it, got it. So all I would say is that great to eat fruit, a couple of servings a day, really good for you. Not overdoing it and trying to avoid putting it into a smoothie because when you pulverize the fruit, it really hits your blood sugar much faster than if you say eat a little cup, quarter cup of berries or something like that. So let's just say, so you guys are
Well,
generally healthy
I think
eaters.
we're also missing a lot of water.
Mhm.
Ah,
Okay, yeah,
see?
water.
Okay.
Very
So
rarely.
you guys are fessing up now. You're fessing up. Okay. So you know what? I appreciate you sharing that because these are really important in both anxiety and mood, and really, really helpful for us to talk about because an easy thing that someone can do, and you can really make it interesting, is add more vegetables to what you're eating. To
Mhm.
every meal that you're having, if you consume eggs, not everyone does, add spinach and veggies to your eggs. Have chia pudding, which is rich in fiber and protein. So any way that you can increase your vegetable servings, snacks of say celery sticks or carrot sticks and hummus, that's a good one too. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have any meats or seafood that you may eat. All I'm saying is by increasing your vegetables, we know that it's doing your body good, your gut, it's feeding fiber, and different nutrients that the gut needs. So that's what I would suggest. And then I have a suggestion for you guys regarding water. People who are dehydrated can appear very anxious. In my clinic, many times with dehydration, I've seen someone actually have a panic attack. So maybe getting a sustainable, I don't have mine with me, but a sustainable water bottle for school that you can refill is a good idea. And then if you measure it, you want to make sure you're filling that several times a day and drinking it. Now, if water is boring, you can add in things like berries, slices of orange, slices of clementine, slices of lemon or lime, just to flavor it up a little bit and make it more interesting. Even mint, fresh mint, has a great flavor to it. And that way you're encouraged to drink because it will help all of the biochemical reactions in your body that you need. So I'm going to ask you all to do, you guys are healthy eaters, but I'm going to ask you to do those two things.
Yeah, really need to focus on the water.
Yeah.
Especially me.
So we've heard a
Even
lot
have,
about.
sorry, go ahead.
So we've heard a lot about prebiotics and probiotics. So why are prebiotics important?
And I love that question because prebiotics, many people see the word and they think they have to go take a supplement, right? And you can certainly do that. But you can also get it from food like garlics, leeks, onions, bananas, oats, jicama, Jerusalem artichokes, and more. These prebiotic fiber is super important to the gut microbes because you have to feed them. You have to, if you had a visitor or an aunt and uncle staying, right, you would want to give them food. You're not going to just say hi and bye, I'm off to school, and leave them without any food. So in a similar way, we want to treat our gut microbes as they are part of what we're taking care of. So eating these foods give those microbes food to eat, and when they eat the prebiotic fiber, they can function at their best. So it fends off things like inflammation, and it helps with gut healing and things like that. So you really want to include those as much as you can in your diet.
Yeah, and one thing that's also really important. So, what's the difference between prebiotics and probiotics for the audience?
Sure. So think about things like a plain yogurt, right? And they will have live active cultures in that. That's a great example of something that is a probiotic. You can also get a supplement. Um, and then the prebiotic is the one that really kind of are from foods mostly, but you can take it as a supplement, but they feed the gut microbes. And what probiotics do is they give your gut more microbes that the gut needs. Now, I also want to mention fermented foods because fermented foods have live active cultures in them. And almost every culture has a fermented food, kefir, kombucha, miso, tempeh, and so many others, right? And fermented foods, a study published by a really important research group at Stanford, published in a journal called Cell in 2021, showed that actually eating fermented foods and adding these to your diet help lower inflammation in your gut. So super important because inflammation is also one of the underlying factors around conditions like depression and anxiety.
Yeah, we love sauerkraut, right? It's like
Yes.
whenever we
Excellent. I love it. I
whenever we
love see
feel
that.
maybe a
Great
little
habit.
bit sick, whenever we maybe feel like maybe some fever or anything, we always have some
Mhm.
sauerkraut. We always, get back to vegetables only. It's one of our favorite things.
Yeah, even after like a party when there's like
When we eat a lot of maybe like carbohydrates or something.
yeah, and then we always we're like, oh,
We
this
And
is so much soda,
and
and we eat the sauerkraut.
I,
Yes.
I like what you said because carbohydrates are okay. It just depends on the quality and type
Yeah.
of carbohydrate.
Yeah.
So if you're eating lots of cauliflower, broccoli, and nice, vegetables, you're actually getting some carbohydrate there, but it's a complex carbohydrate. So,
Mhm.
excellent. I'm impressed at how healthy you guys are. It's awesome.
Thank you very much.
So our brains are made out of 60% DHA, a type of omega-3, but 90% of us kids are deficient. Is it important for us kids to get to our food or take a or just take a supplement?
I think that it's pretty it's easy to adjust your diet, but you also want to be speaking to your parents and your pediatrician in case they want you to take a supplement because some people may be severely deficient. But for me, I am a food first person, so consuming things like fatty fish, like wild caught salmon, anchovies, sardines are good sources, and plant-based sources, but they are less efficient because they have the short chain omega-3, the ALA. And that is not as easily converted to what our brain is actually needing. But they are still an option for people who don't consume seafood. And in those individuals, they can take a vegan supplement to help them along. But one easy way to do this is to consume seafood. Do you guys eat salmon?
Yes, we eat
Yes.
salmon, shrimp.
Okay, there you go. So you're getting
They like seaweed.
some. Yeah. Yes. It's exactly. It's a plant-based
I rarely have tuna.
form of short chain. I'm sorry. You do too?
I rarely have tuna.
He really likes tuna.
Sometimes.
I rarely.
Okay.
Rarely.
Okay. I
Because of
like
the heavy metals.
Great.
Right?
The mercury.
Yes, the mercury.
Yeah. So you're aware of that, and so you're looking for the best sources, and you're not eating it as frequently. And when you're eating salmon, you're trying, if you have, if it's possible, not everyone has access, but you are trying to get wild caught salmon. And if people listening to this don't have access to better, that quality of seafood, canned food options are also okay, and you can find canned salmon. Also looking for a good quality type that you can eat if the wild caught salmon is kind of out of budget.
So this is amazing. What other foods should us kids focus on to help our minds calm down?
Amazing.
Thank you. Well, you're gonna have to buy my book. I'm just kidding. So in in my book, Calm Your Mind with Food, thank you. What I do is I walk people through the science around inflammation, gut health, immunity, and then I walk people through different micronutrients and macronutrients, kind of breaking it down. So people sort of know the different, often people say, well, eat healthy proteins. Well, what does that mean? Or
Yeah.
eat healthy carbohydrates. What does it mean? So breaking it down for people. Also, things like understanding that, and this is something I do want to share with you. I think that one of the things I uh, have figured out for growing children is an acronym. Going through medical school, your mom will tell you that you learn everything. You learn everything uh, basically by kind of making up lists and trying to learn stuff. So I created this that I will share with you. I just shared it on a recent television segment, and it's called Brainchild. So let's go through it, okay? The B is for B vitamins, extremely important for your brain, and berries. So my favorite fruit are berries, great choice, different colors, gives you everything. R, you've heard rainbow, right? Rainbow colors of vegetables, because that gives you different plant polyphenols that your brain needs. A is for antioxidants, and here, don't forget the spices that really are rich in antioxidants. Turmeric with a pinch of black pepper, capsaicin from chili peppers, oregano, thyme, so many more. I is for iron and iodine. Important for developing brains, really important for kids growing up. And iron, it turns out several infants, children, and teens are deficient in iron. So making sure that you have enough iron from different types of animal proteins, but also from things like spinach and other vegetables also contain iron. And then N is for nutrients. And here I'm talking about micronutrients like zinc, folate from leafy greens, the omega-3s that we talked about. So that's your N. Then we move on to C. C is for choline and vitamin C and complex carbs, right? H is for hydration. See, I didn't know that this was an issue for you guys. And then I is actually for insulin and blood sugar. Now, it turns out that our metabolic health is hugely important in children and adults because we're facing an obesity epidemic. So it's really critical for us to understand how to be eating healthier, and that the foods that we eat shouldn't be spiking our insulin and our blood sugar all of the time. L is for less ultra processed food, and that less of all of those foods we listed earlier that we want to kind of step back from a little bit. And D is for vitamin D. So there it is in a nutshell for you.
Wow, that's super helpful. I mean,
super helpful.
Super helpful.
I mean, you are so inspiring.
So inspiring.
So,
I think this was amazing. Again,
where can people learn more about you and your work?
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you for asking. So you can find me at my website, umanaidoomd.com, where you can purchase the book. And I'm also, I have a course that while people are waiting for the book coming out on December 26th, they can do the course. They can read all the free gifts that they get so that they can kind of prepare for how they want to help their diet. You can also find me on social media at DRUMANAIDOO. You can also start subscribing to my newsletter because I talk about a different food every single week. I break down the science, and I offer really a lot of to people who follow my newsletter. They get a lot of kind of interesting free additional stuff from me. And you can sign up by going to umanaidoomd.com.
Thank you again, Dr. Naidoo. Everyone, remember to get Dr. Naidoo's book today. It is amazing.
Amazing.
And
follow her today.
Yeah. So now to recap Dr. Naidoo's key points. Number 1. Mental health is a whole body health. The vagus nerve connects the brain to the gut, and 70% of our immune system is immune system inflammation is one of the underlying roots of anxiety. Inflammation in the gut is related to inflammation in the brain, and that means that the gut is the most significant and the most controllable environment and lifestyle factor we can work on. Your diet is also the microbiome's diet. You must feed it, nurture in a way that you can promote healthy, full bacteria.
So your diet, refined sugar and ultra-processed foods or fried foods, sugar, sweetened beverages, and artificially sweetened beverages, store-bought pastries are terrible for the brain. Like terrible.
Terrible.
To calm the brain, follow Brainchild. Brainchild is important. B is for vitamins and berries. R is for the rainbow of veggies. And A is for the antioxidants. I is for the iron and iodine, as some kids are really deficient in. N is for nutrients, omega-3, food, zinc, folate, and vitamin A. C is for choline and vitamin C. H is for hydration. I is for insulin and blood sugar control. L is for getting rid of some of the ultra-processed foods, soda, and trans fats. D is for vitamin D.
I remember an easy thing. Yeah, you can.
I'm sorry. So the L is less of those foods, right? All of us we wanna like step back from it. But I don't like to tell people to never eat something. It's just let's think less of these foods. Okay. Yeah.
An easy thing to do is to add adding more vegetables to every meal, like spinach and veggies to your eggs, and prebiotics are foods for the gut microbiome. Treat your gut microbiome as treat your gut microbes as a part of what you are taking care of. When we give our gut bugs the right food like garlic, onions, leeks, they will keep your gut happy.
Omega-3s are really important for our brains. We love wild-caught fish like salmon and sardines. Dehydration can lead to anxiety. Have a water bottle and refill it multiple times a day. So thank you so much again for this amazing interview. We are so
Thank you,
incredibly
guys.
honored for your time and wisdom today.
Thank you so
So
much. I just want to say one thing. The water bottle, we want it to be a sustainable water bottle and not be
Yes.
plastic if we can.
Yeah.
Stainless steel or sustainable form or even glass. They make some really good ones that are very hard to break. And so I think those are good.
That's why we also use glass water bottles.
Yep.
Yes.
There you go.
So thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zansari.
I'm Abdullah.
And I'm Milad.
Follow my family and I on social media, Holistic Mom D, and look out for my mom's book, The Holistic Kids. She's also working on another one, and we got a book deal coming in 2025. So download our podcast in iTunes and leave reviews so other kids and families can benefit. We need to create a future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of The Holistic Kid Show, where kids are empowering kids. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.